Hey there, friends. Nibs again. Uh, Wanted to get out in the garage here and do a little tinkering around. This is a video that everybody said they wanted to see, or at least a few guys said they wanted to see. I did post up another video showing me taking apart my Feinwerkbau model 124 using the spring compressor that I had come up with. And a couple people said they did want to see like a full disassembly and reassembly video. Don't know if I'm going to keep you on for every step. I did watch, there's several other people on eBay already that have very in-depth videos on how to take these things apart and put them back together, but I'll go through the basic steps with you and show you what I'm going to be doing to this one. So the main thing is I've got my new piston seal here, and hopefully this is the right size. It's supposed to be. But let me bring you down to the tabletop here and we'll get started. So a little oh, by the way, I guess, about this I've already had this one fully apart and totally cleaned up the inside of it, and but she really is a beauty. So I use this towel down here to cushion the stock so we don't scratch it up. But pretty much everything on this gun can be taken apart with a flat blade screwdriver. I have this 6-in-1 from Crescent here. It has two different size flat blade bits on it, and they are both hollow ground, so they're really nice for doing gunsmith type work like this. So the first thing we want to do is, there's two screws up here in the front that hold the stock on. Well, I've got it flipped over on this side, so there's star washers in there. Get those out of there, make sure you don't scratch your stock. While I got it flipped over here, there's actually a screw on the right hand side of the gun that is the lock screw for the barrel swivel. Take that out, so when you flip it back over, we'll be able to just take the barrel off. So the next screw here is there's the rear action screw is the front trigger guard screw, and that should allow the stock to come completely off. That is not captivated, so don't lose that. I'm going to set this off to the side. Alright, so now we can take out the barrel swivel screw. Actually, you want to break the action open first. Take the pressure off that joint. Need to be a little more careful with my screwdrivers and slipping off them screws and jeez. Stand by 1 second. Now when I took it apart the last time, that screw came straight out of there without giving me any. There it comes. So I've got a pair of they're Nipex, and they're smooth jawed, so they won't hopefully won't mar up the finish on anything too badly or at all. Alright, so now we can, so there's two washers here on either side. There's a flat one on the left side and then kind of a spring-loaded one on the right side. I've already cleaned those all up and applied some clean grease to those, so I won't need to do anything with those again. So I was saying before, and oh by the way, I've had this thing completely apart already. I've cleaned everything up, and then I put it all back together just so pieces weren't laying all around, because I didn't know how long it was going to take for that seal to come in. So alright, so I've showed this in another video already. Let me make sure we're in frame here still. Pull over a little bit. But I came up with this little system or invention or whatever you want to call it to use as a spring compressor, decompressor. Just uses a couple of wood clamps here. Put one at the back to hold everything from going that way. Our main goal is to push this little cover in the back in a little bit so we can take this bolt out here that holds all that in, and then be able to slowly decompress that spring. And then I come up with this little wooden hook that will hook over the body of the compression tube, and that's going to allow us to use another clamp. So this doesn't need to be terribly tight. You don't want to do too much because you could, I doubt you'd be able to bend that tube, but you just never know. And so, so now I have this quick grip clamp that we can use to, what I came up with is this little block of wood with this cutout in it to allow so we don't bend up our safety release here. And we put that over top of that. Make sure we're still lined up on that. We are. Okay, so now, I don't think I tightened this up when I put this all back together too much, but normally this would be pretty tight. But if you've got the pressure off of the, so you might want to get a little pressure on there, get this loose, and then give it just one more little squeeze to push that in just a little bit, and then that'll release this. So you can, if you can't turn this out by your fingers, you don't have this compressed appropriately. But this is the bolt that secures all the spring and trigger group and everything in place. So now to release this quick grip here, you can put a little pressure on the tensioner and then do the release. And sometimes you don't want, probably don't want it to come out that quick, but that's okay, as long as things don't go flying across the room. So we've got our safety lever, and we've got our trigger group with our spring guide. Everything's all been cleaned up. I've already cleaned and lubed all the trigger pieces. So now we'll take this off for a moment. So there's a little piece right here called the trigger shoe, or cocking shoe, and that comes out. There's a little elongated slot right here, and that's where that has to be pushed to one side and then rocked up out of the action. And then you should be able to get, look at how bad that Alright, so now this old piston head just comes right out of there, and how crumbled up that is. It's all, whole top of it's almost completely busted off. So this new one's going to go on there. But I did end up getting a bunch more stuff off that old piston head inside here, so I'm going to pause the video, get that all cleaned out, and then I'll bring you back on for putting it back together. Okay everybody, I'm back. So I got that all cleaned out and ready to go back together. While I was off, I did actually put the piston head onto the the piston, and the reason I did that was because I had read that these things were notorious for needing some assistance to go on there with a hammer, and I didn't want to be pounding on this with you guys on camera, so just annoying in the microphone. So, but it actually would just a little bit of Teflon grease, it slid right in there. So now if you notice, this thing is kind of a blacker color now than it was a minute ago when it took it apart. What I did was I have some dry moly lube, which really works good for a lot of stuff, so I figured I would give it a try on this, just as an extra step of lubrication. Probably doesn't need it, but I just put some on that. I sprayed the spring down, I sprayed the spring guide down. I am going to put some real grease on there as well, but I figured a little bit extra slip sliding will help things out. So, but this is Teflon silicone grease here. I know a lot of people use moly grease, but I don't have any moly grease, so we're going to use Teflon, synthetic Teflon silicone grease. And, it's probably going to be messy, but this will make things nice. And I did try do a little test fit, and it is a very snug fit. I'm glad I didn't buy the oversized piston head. Catch it right here. Get something that's not gonna mar up that tip right there. There she goes. That is pretty snug. Pause the camera for a minute. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. I just wanted to. It was going in there really hard, and I wanted to get a little bit of lubrication down inside there so that it could go in a little bit easier and hopefully not damage my piston seal. But now I've got it to the point where I need to put this cocking shoe back in. If you don't put this back in before you put the before you start sliding this all together, you're going to end up with not having that in there, and that will be a problem. So you want to do some grease on your spring. That's going to really help eliminate any kind of spring buzz that you might end up with. I'll put some more on the other end when I start putting it together. So there it goes. All right. So now that will really is a mess, but you really got to make sure this thing gets lubed up real good, or else you'll end up with galling inside there. Just turning this piston just a little bit to get the cocking shoe lined up with its groove there, and then we can hopefully push the piston the rest of the way in here. I'm almost at the I'm at the last little stage here where I need to get that let's see here. I don't want to use that. There she goes. All right. So now I got the piston just about home. Need to finish getting. Okay. Now the piston's home. So now all that oil, I put a little bit of oil down inside there just to let it slide really good. Okay. Sorry about the clumsiness, guys, but I am kind of new at this myself. So, so now I need to reclamp my tube back down momentarily. Split my piece of wood, crud. That's okay. Oh, she's fighting me. Why is it? All right, that should work. So now we got to get our trigger group on here. I want to put a little bit more grease on the spring here. A little bit of grease on the spring guide tube, just so we don't get any boinging off of that guy. Don't need a ton in there, but okay. So now we'll get our safety set back in place here. And we can start recompressing our spring. Just push the piston the rest of the way home. Okay, so this is one step here that you really want to make sure that this is going in straight. just so we don't end up bending our spring. Now we're getting to the point where we're going to need to line up this hole for this lug here. Just about there, let me see. You want to be careful when you're doing this that you don't, because this hole can cross thread this pretty easily. You got to come in just a little bit more. Just a little too far now. It's just a little too far. All right, if you can't screw this in by your hands with your bare fingers, do not force it in, because you will cross thread that, sure as shooting. But now we can take our pressure off of that and we're good to go. So we want to make sure we tighten this guy down here. All right, so reassembly is exactly the opposite of disassembly. So I'm gonna cut this off just to make this a little bit shorter. It's gonna be a long video anyway, but I'll get this back together and then I'll bring you back on and we'll take a couple of test pops across the garage here, and then we'll wrap it up. I plan to take this out to the range this evening if everything's working okay with it. So stand by. Alrighty there, friends. So here we go. Got the Feinwerkbau Model 124 all put back together, and we'll do a couple of test pops with it, see how it's doing. This is a real beauty. From what I can tell, looking up this serial number, it was either made in, I believe it was made in 1979, possibly early 1980. There's a couple of listings online you can find with Feinwerkbau serial numbers, and this one more than likely is mid to late 1979 based on what they showed there. So I'm not really going to show you the target. I'm just testing it for functionality more than anything at this point. But we'll take a couple of pops across the garage into my target box. Ooh, got a little detonation on that one. But gotta burn that oil off. But she's she is shooting. She got some snap now. Very happy with that. All right, we'll do one more and then we'll wrap it up, and you can stay tuned later for a video from the range. Oh yeah, she's detonating. All right, well, we'll have to burn that off, but anyway, let me set this down. Well, I'll hold it up here. So anyway, I hope he's waited all the way through the end. This has been a long one. I kind of fumbling through a few things. I'm not a professional gunsmith, but I did get this guy back together, and she seems to be shooting pretty good. Hopefully we get that little bit of oil burned off and we get rid of that dieseling there, and we'll do some test shooting, test targets at the range a little later. So anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you in a little while. Have a great day.